Hey everyone, I've put together this Jack Skellington makeup look, which is super easy and pretty quick for Halloween, so if you'd like to see how I did that, keep watching please. Starting off with a clean face, I'm just taking some white grease paint that I got at the Halloween store. I'm taking it onto my fingers and I'm just spreading it over my skin, and I'm trying to avoid the areas where I plan to draw out the eyes. And this doesn't have to be perfect, but we just want to make sure it's nice and dense so that when we blend it out properly with a sponge, it won't shear out too much. Next, I am taking a liner brush and some black grease paint, and I'm just drawing out the shape of Jack's eyes, which are pretty particular, so it helps if you have a picture to go off of. I just had one in front of me that I could keep looking at, and I'm just drawing out the shape of the eyes and making sure that the inner corners are as pointed as I can get them, because that's signature to his eyes. I'm just doing the same to the other side, trying to make it as symmetrical as possible. Again, these lines don't have to be perfect either, because we are going to clean them up afterwards once we've blended the white product out around it. Next, onto a denser shader brush, I am just taking that same product and I'm filling in the outline, and I'm trying to make this as opaque as possible because the stuff is pretty slippery, so it's a little bit hard to keep it in one place, but we are going to set it afterwards with some shadows to ensure that that happens. And then I'm just cleaning up around there with some more white face paint. Again, it's okay if it smudges a little bit because we are going to clean up the black line after everything's blended out. I'm just filling in all the places that I haven't got any product yet. And when it comes to the eyebrow area, don't worry about not getting that totally filled in with white, because we're going to go in with something else to define that area. And I'm taking a makeup sponge and I'm just, well, after I've blended out with my fingers, then I'm taking a makeup sponge and I'm just blending in the product just to make sure it's nice and smooth. And I'm just using patting motions because I don't want to smear it and shear the product out too much. But I'm just patting it in just to make it a smoother surface. And then, like I said, going in with the liner brush once again and cleaning up those edges just in case they got a little bit less crisp while we were blending. Make sure you get the hair out of your eyes too. Then onto a fluffy blending brush. I can't speak today, I'm sorry. I'm taking some gray shadows and I'm just blending those under my eyes, or where we've drawn the eyes I should say, and I'm just making a fairly stark line with the shadows, but I'm making sure that the edges are blended out, because this really does define where like your jawbone would be and your like eye socket area would be, and I'm just taking that around the shape of the eyes just to make sure that they stand out against the white, even more so that they do even though they're black. And again, just doing that to the other side, making sure it looks as symmetrical as possible. And I am just taking a little bit onto the sides of my nose just to define my nose a little bit. Then taking that same liner brush and the black grease paint again, I'm just drawing on Jack's eyebrows, which are also fairly particular to his facial expression. So make sure that you try and get those as accurate as possible. And they don't have to be too thick or too thin, just kind of do it however you want, but have like the general shape that he has, just so you know that you have his signature look. And I'm using that same brush again to draw out the nostrils, and you want to make sure that these are fairly pointy as well, because obviously skeletons don't have skin to soften the look of the bones. So I'm just filling that in with that same brush and doing the same to the other side, again trying to match it as best as I can. And again with that same brush, I am just drawing on the mouth, and I'm making this line pretty thin and curving it upwards into his like signature menacing smile. And I am just trying to make sure that the line is as clean as possible, because you do want this to be pretty neat. And then for the inside of my lips, I'm just keeping my lips closed just to make sure that the line doesn't get too thick, because that would look a little bit off. And I'm just filling in where teeth would be, so using that same brush to draw in some lines. And again, you want to make sure that this is as neat as possible, just to make sure that it really stands out and gives that cartoon look. Next, I'm just taking some more of that gray shadow on that same blending brush, and I'm just sweeping this over top of where we drew in the eyes and underneath the eyebrow, just to define where a skeleton's brow bone would be. And this just helps enhance the animated look that you would have on your face. So, and this also covers up the areas that we couldn't reach with white face paint without smudging the black. So this kind of just ties everything together and makes it all look a little bit neater and just defines everything. And again, you can make this as dense as you want, but just make sure that the edges are blended. Then I'm just taking my liner brush again cleaning up the edges just to make sure that everything's nice and clean and straight lined. And I'm just adding a little bit more dimension to my chin. You can honestly add shadow wherever you want. I just added this here because it made the mouth stand out just a little bit more. Next, onto another shadow brush, I am just taking some black eyeshadow to, like I said earlier, set the black makeup, because it does like to slip around and slide a bit. So this will help keep the density and opaqueness of the look. And then just tight lining with some kohl eyeliner, just to make sure that there is no flesh tone in our eyes. And there you have it. That's my Jack Skellington makeup look. It's super quick and super easy, which is perfect for a last minute costume. So if you liked it, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks!